Welcome. We are live. Welcome everyone to Bardic Inspiration. This is Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition in Shakespearean Style. I am your dungeon master for the evening, Adam Hembry, and with me tonight are the Headless Marys, whom you would have last seen 2 weeks ago. This way, I know how to point to the correct directions now. With the mirror image, it really gets me every week. The Headless Marys have returned after their adventures down the Lewen River when they have been working to protect their new friend Alda, the young golden dragon wormling, who has been in their ship in hiding for some time. And the crew has been dealing with all sorts of threats, both external and perhaps drama internal, especially in our last session, where many truths were told. You are so close to the destination that you've been working for the last very many sessions, going down the entire length of the Lewen River, one of the biggest rivers in Eston, and you're almost there. But before you get there, and you've been up to some adventures, I'm going to turn it over to you, the players, to recap what you remember from our last session. It's all you. We're gonna do it a bit differently this week. We are gonna set a timer and see what you can get out in 2 minutes. I think Mel is gonna have our timer. Okay, Mel, whenever you are ready, let us know when to begin.
Begin now.
The ship has new powers.
Oh yeah, the ship has new powers.
Yes.
Peace Blossom's ex visited Yori.
Yeah. Wink it.
There was just a farce of like people falling in love with each other through a series of one note that like led to a whole bunch of pranks.
Yeah, Rav was insulted by his nemesis, the ship, and he was feeling sad about it. So
Podrick stepped in and
Podrick came and left a note for Rav, which Buckle misconstrued as a love letter.
Yeah.
But Podrick didn't leave the note.
No.
That's right. Avery did.
Yeah, Avery left the note. Podrick just whispered at Rav's door, which Buckle thought was romantic.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the burn.
Yeah. Put there.
Oh, and tied up.
Rav put there.
Barwin tied. Sorry, go ahead.
The ship is Puck as well.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Podrick had to talk to the ship. Found out it was made out of rowan wood, and that it was a character named Puck in a previous life. Or maybe
Yes. He has feelings for him.
Yeah, I heard it.
Also, Alda thinks that Barwin did pranks without her and is mad about it.
Yeah.
That's time.
And then we all went up a level. I think we all.
That didn't happen. Sorry, that's beyond your time.
That's what happened.
Well done.
Oh, no.
Well done. There was a lot that happened in that session without there actually being like combat or like major sort of milestones along the river or anything like that. When I was writing the recap, I was like, geez.
Well, it was some milestones along
in other ways, yeah. So all of that did transpire in one session. That was quite a lot. You met Winkin of the Autumn Court, of whom the queen is Titania, and Yori found all this out in a rather frustrating conversation for Yori, as Yori put it, and a rather disquieting one. And as is often the case, so I think we left with Yori having gone below decks and Barwin being in charge. And Barwin discovered one of the new upgrades of the ship as well, which is that it can go on a kind of autopilot. You both have found that if you channel your own magic into the ship when you spin the wheel, you can affect the ship's chaos magic. Either you can remove options from the random effects table so that you have a better chance of getting the ones you want. Or you can have the ship sort of go on autopilot as long as there's nothing complex for it to do. It could just sort of keep itself safe and on the straight and narrow, which could come in handy in future. And that is all a gift from Queen Titania of the Autumn Court via Winkin, who apparently came with Blinkin, who was harassing Caliban and Peas Blossom in the Crow's Nest earlier. And yet you did find out that Peas Blossom has a little bit of a love history with Winkin. And he was very perturbed to have to reveal that. You also learned about Peas Blossom's family a little bit. Caliban had a bit of a chat with him. You learned about his dad.
Is Blossom the surname of Peas?
It is all one word, just like the month where you find yourself now. It is the 18th of Peas Blossom, and it is getting on later in the day after all this hijinks with the Zone of Truth and having a deep and meaningful with your forlorn ship, who revealed their name to be Puck, at least in a different time and place, and quite despondent about their lot, and a bit cagey about the details. That is where we left off, with all of these truths being told. Rav tied to a chair in his chambers, Podrig shaking off the heebie-jeebies and feathers from having popped in and out of wild shape as a chicken, Barwin looking pensively off into the water, wondering what Alda has planned in store for her, perhaps, and Avery having recently caught a fish, which she then put in Yori's bed as a prank, which Yori very resignedly just threw onto the floor and then went to sleep. And also, sorry, what were you gonna say, Louise? That's right. Staring at the wall. Buckle, on the other hand, we left posing heroically at the front of the ship, believing that people on the side of the river were admiring him, when in fact Caliban read their lips and saw that they were wondering, what's that doctor doing in the crow's nest to that strange boat? Wonder if there's plague. And that is where we are. You are drifting, Headless Marys, down the river. Having done some maths between sessions, I've determined you are due to arrive in Halefort, which is at the very southern tip of the Lewen River, tomorrow, the 19th of Peas Blossom. You gained an extra day because you went double speed on one of the days with your ship. You can expect to arrive sometime during the day, possibly pushing midday tomorrow, at least to Haleford, the city proper. Having been left where you were, Headless Marys, what are you getting up to? Whom are we going to hear from first? Rav, you're strapped to a chair. You just had this encounter with Podrig. What is Ravelor doing tied to the chair, left in this situation?
So Ravelor is tied to a chair. I assume the door to his bunk is ajar.
Yeah, Podrig left in a hurry. Yep.
Rav goes, "Indeed, Podrig, thou art a better man than I to fight these feelings. I do admire thee, thy fortitude." And then he waits a minute and goes, "Send Yori in, or Avery. I have words for both of them."
Podrig is unlikely to have heard that, or at least to have paid attention, given what's going on in the next room. So we'll leave Rav there for a moment, shouting into the void.
Spinning.
Yep. Buckle and Barwin, you're both on the top decks, I believe. You've drifted down past where this hamlet was, where people are fishing. What are the two of you getting up to up there? I believe Avery might be up there as well, if depending on what she's done after getting up to the fish hijinks. And Caliban would be there with Peas Blossom, yeah.
I think Barwin's wanted back to take control of the ship.
Yeah, so after an hour passes, but you can feel every time now that you put your hands onto the helm, much like the feeling you get when you're beginning a prayer to cast a spell, you feel the ship touches the divine magic within you. There's a channel open there that you can sort of open at any time.
Caliban, Barwin, what doth Ravelor possess that the three of us cannot see?
Have you ever had a great love, Caliban?
What about you, Barwin?
Oh, yes, actually.
Oh, Buckle is not charismatic enough to pursue this line of questioning, so he just
Peace
stands in
Blossom, on
silence.
the other hand, is going to wink into visibility and say, well, if I am required to divulge every particular of my heart's desires, I believe we should hear more on this, Barwin. Who is it that thou hast loved?
Well, I suppose 'tis only fair, Peas Blossom. I thank thee for thy candid speech earlier. Well, his name was Roderick. Well, years before now, I think 5 years past. He was a farmer near where my family's farm was, and he was charming, and we. He was lovely, and I spent many a lovely day with him for 3 years, in fact. And I needed to leave eventually, and so with that meant that I needed to leave him. But it was the right choice, I'm sure, but I cannot say that I don't wonder what would have happened if I had not made that choice.
Tis hard to leave loved ones, even when you need to. That is a pain I know all too well.
How dost thou know that pain, Buckle?
Oh, I was trapped in the magical forest for 10 years. As was Yori. We lost our charges, and the family we served no longer required our services. Now we're on a ship heading towards... What was the city again?
Halefort.
Halefort.
Yes, actually, he had quite a knack for them.
It's just funny because you're getting Peas Blossom as Peas Blossom, but then Peas Blossom as Caliban, and so it's like just like the glaze of his eyes is the only thing that will tell you Caliban's taking over on occasion. Caliban is very fond of carrots. Caliban, in your mind, Peas Blossom is saying, "This striketh me as a fun game we could play at some point."
Peas Blossom just starts giggling.
Yep.
In front of Barwin and Buckle.
Yeah, just like staring off over Barwin's head into the distance. Not clear what about. You wanna have a look around? Sure thing. Yeah, it's coming in towards evening now. So you're sort of getting the last bit of good visibility you'll have before you're restricted to your night vision goggles. 19, not bad. You can see to the front of the ship that the river's profile is changing. You left the marsh and into sort of a more river proper earlier in the morning. The river is narrower here than it has been in some time, and it seems to be a bit more quick flowing. The ship is, even before now, wasn't having an issue when Barwin left it sort of to move itself, but now Barwin, you would be having to kind of take a little bit more active control. It's not super narrow, but it does require you to sort of take some turns on occasion. The sun is setting to your right, that's the west, you're going south for most of the time. The river is also more active, although as the sun is beginning to set, you see fewer and fewer of these boats, but there are a number of flat barges which are kind of homely affairs, not really big, hugely laden ones, but they seem to be kind of doing a bit of trade between villages and fishing villages along the river. And there's a pretty active presence of canoes as well, and smaller paddled boats. And this, also in shower points, there are people poling rafts across, and sometimes you'll see them sort of waiting for you to pass, and then they'll hurriedly start to push their way out into the open. It seems to be that the land is more hospitable around here as well. There's signs of farmland up close to the river's edge, and some artificial irrigation ditches dug out from the river to sort of go out that way. You can see smoke in the distance from little townships and villages. And also, there are a couple of other larger vessels that you would note during this time. Most of them not the size of the Headless Mary, but more proper boats as well. Some that have smaller sails. And every so often over the course of the next hour or so, you'll see some come close enough that they can actually sort of give one of those like nods of acknowledgement going by. Everyone on the 2 or 3 vessels like this that you'll see in this time seems to be pretty commonly dressed, with bales of either nets laden with fish or with bales of hay and other kind of farm supplies that they seem to be taking towards one of the villages that you're going to pass. The larger ones are a bit slower than the Headless Mary, which is a bit fast for a boat of its size, and they seem to be going the same direction towards Halefort. The swamp seems to have been a kind of de facto divider between this area and the farmland to the north that you left. You didn't really come across any other people sailing through it. But yeah, I would say as it's going down to dark, that's kind of the things Caliban would be noting. No telltale sign of black smoke behind. Yeah, that's what Caliban was looking for. Yeah. Always. Now, Avery, what have you been up to since your fish and subterfuge escapades? Is Avery being discreet about this? No. Okay. Okay. So yeah, anyone who is just looking around the deck will probably notice Avery over in the corner doing this. Caliban certainly would.
Buckle just turns to Barwin and just like, should we talk to her, or should we leave her alone? I do not know how to handle this situation.
Let's find out. We'll talk to her and see if it were not a mistake to do so. Bowen opens the channel and sets it on autopilot for another hour.
Great. Just mark a first level spell slot for that.
Cool. We'll do that.
Faintly from downstairs, you can hear Rav going, Avery! Yuri!
Yep.
Avery, we do not wish to pry, but can see that you are in some deal of distress. Does that wish to talk about it?
But Avery, from our point of view, a great love is yet to begin. Can you not hear Ravelor calling your name?
It's so sticky. The ship also has a crush on Rav.
Well, I know me for a fact that not to be true.
No, that is effectively not true. Yes. I would love to envision a scenario in which you sweep Ravelor off his feet, so that my friend Yori does not make a horrible mistake. But I have resigned myself to the fact that will not be the case.
But also, for the benefit of thine good love, Avery, as well. We would love to see that for thee.
Yes, same.
I think around this point, Rav clunks onto deck, still tied to the chair.
Rav, have you been hopping slowly up the stairs, tied to the? This would have taken
gonna make me do a check?
No, but this would have taken the entire time this session has been going. Basically, Rav has just been thudding. You just periodically ow, and as you split your knee and shins against the board.
And he's been periodically. He thuds up and then he goes Yori. And then he thuds up and goes, Avery! Just back and forth.
Well, now is thine chance, Avery. Say something sweet to tell Ravelor once more how that feels.
Right now he's turtling on his back with his legs flailing. Trying to use the momentum of his legs to inch further onto the deck.
Buckle whispers to Barwin, "Why, really? Him?"
Heart wants what it wants, good Buckle.
So Rav's legs have been flailing this whole time, and he's been nodding vigorously in agreement, and then he hears those last words and he just freezes dead in his tracks. Sweet, sweet Avery, thou hast spake true when thou did say that I did defend thee, for I would lay mine life down for thee if need be. But thou hast told a lie when thou did say that nobody did lay eggs upon this ship, for thou, sweet Avery, hath laid an egg of love in mine heart. At this point, Rav is rocking himself to try and get seated upright.
Yeah, I'm afraid that is going to be extremely difficult without an athletics check. You are tied to a chair that is face down. That's
Avery,
that's
wilt thou untie me? For all of a sudden I am feeling most constricted.
Okay. You are free.
Hi. Indeed, about that term, Avery. Indeed. This is an aside to only Rav.
Okay. It's an inner monologue situation.
Yes. I, me, Ravelor, what hast thou done? Of all the hearts to entangle, thou hast chosen the heart of an assassin, an accomplished one at that. Oh, fie upon this beauteous face that no maiden or man can resist. Cursed be the gods who did carve me so beauteous that none can resist and all fall victim. I, like Narcissus himself, I am doomed by mine own beauty.
What an aside.
Dablor, thou must tread carefully, for though thou art known to be aroused by pain, the pain an assassin could cause might be the end of all pleasurable pain that thou couldst feel. Thou must tread carefully, in this instance, not for the little death we fear, but the one that's for real.
Is that the end of your inner soliloquy?
Yeah.
Please take a point of inspiration for that masterwork. Yeah, we can do that. Time has no meaning in inner monologue. In inner monologue time, you're welcome to do such things. Gosh, that's fantastic. Even a little death, good lord. Yeah. We strive for historical authenticity.
I think then when he's finished, he snaps back to Avery and goes, I must go to my chamber to check on things. And he sprints away.
My heart swells for thee, Avery.
Avery, this might be I think this is the first time I have ever seen you smile.
That's terrifying. Oh my god, I love this so much. The promised ravery has arrived. Can't believe it.
But at what cost?
Yeah, indeed. How the tables have turned. So, this drama has unfolded above decks. There are various states of recuperation happening below decks. Podrick and Yori just attempting to recenter themselves, and Alda doing who knows what. But you are passing away your evening thusly. Does anyone have any other objectives they were hoping to accomplish for their characters before it's time for bed?
I mean, Rav was hoping to talk to Yori, but it seems like that's not going to happen.
Rav is welcome to try. It's Yori's choice as to whether she'll engage.
Rav knocks on Yori's door.
Yeah, each of you have your own sleeping quarters in this ship. It's strangely well appointed for a boat of its size.
People say that about Rav.
Is that a fake snore? Make a deception check.
Yeah.
And how would you two think this is most fun? Would you like to have it a roll off, or would you like to just choose whether you believe that snore? Like, we can do it either way. Play thing or a game thing.
I think Rav is not going to believe it unless Yori rolls like really high.
Okay. You want to set a number? You think that would be good?
Well, his perception is so high, and he has the actor feat, so he knows about this.
It's insight here. That's the thing. So you can. Well, the way this can work then is if you just roll insight, Rev, and then you roll deception, whichever is higher wins. If you're willing to let it go to that. With player-to-player stuff, you can also just make a role-playing choice and be like, I would believe that, or I wouldn't believe that, because. But it can be fun to roll.
So I can.
Who's this?
Oh.
Yori!
Wait, but for mine?
So is that yeah, okay. All right.
Wait, so what do I roll?
Right, you roll insight, which is wisdom based.
You roll a nat 20 is what you need to roll.
I have passive whiz parentheses insight at a 16.
Yeah, which means that I will often give Rav extra information that I won't give other people about people's faces and stuff, because Rav is just good at reading people. But this is you actively making a choice to read Yori, so you need to roll for it. Okay, so
But I'm asking, do I add that or I add my +6?
no, it's your insight. If you go to the skills where it says insight, if that's +6, then that's what
It's
you're
+6.
adding. Yeah.
Well, here she.
No,
I don't
that's the
think
thing.
that's how it
That's the
works.
thing
Yeah,
about
then you get, like,
math.
Well, you won.
Okay.
You won because 13 is less than 21. Although if it were a thing of a crit versus or dueling crits, I do think something extra would happen, but that's a to be determined thing. So yeah, Rav, Yori's snore sounds pretty legit.
Rav presses his mouth to the door and whispers softly, "Sleep gently, sweet angel, and we shall talk anon." And then he goes to sleep.
Rav, your tongue.
I knew it was coming.
Your tongue
I
tastes
knew
like
Rob
wood.
was gonna.
What were you gonna say, Petra? Sorry.
No, I knew the tongue was. I knew the lick was happening, so I was just like, where does it? Oh, it happened.
It's the anticipation of the tongue that
Yeah.
every time. No, he clothed before.
Yeah, but I
when
wouldn't
they-
have done it.
Can you imagine? Rav got dressed shortly after the ship became visible, I think.
He
Not
put clothes
immediately.
on. Well, it's because last episode when he ran to try and kiss Yori, he knew that would go over better if he was clothed. So he put clothes on first.
This is true. That's canon. That happened.
Mhm.
Okay, so Yori, you can do with that information what you will. You definitely would have heard Rav saying those things. Oh, all right. In that case, Rav is on. Sorry, Rav. Barwin is on driving duty for at least the next while until some point in the night when Yori can take over. So the evening is yours. You can go to bed if you're going to bed. And if anyone's taking watch, they're welcome to do so now. Is anyone going to do that?
Rab volunteers first watch. That way he'll be awake when Yori's on the boat.
Yeah. Okay. It'll be
Another soliloquy.
if you take first watch, the end of your watch will probably coincide with the changing of the guard, if that makes sense. So if you took second watch, you would be up
Rab's
there
gonna do
while
that.
Yori is up there.
Yeah.
Okay. So if Rab's taking second watch, is anyone taking first? Avery, are you two gonna split it as you often do? Okay. So then Avery, you can make a perception check. Everyone else can trundle off to bed if that is what.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make a deception check.
Yeah.
Okay. 16. Just deceiving himself.
I was like, damn man, I don't even believe myself.
I actually did see the other day someone was like, sleeping is the one thing you just pretend to do until it's true. I'm like,
That's not the one thing. There's many things.
yeah, no, that's fair.
Liz.
That could be better put. Okay, with a 16, Avery, the watch is passing quietly. The river as well has become quite placid and broadened out a little bit since the afternoon when it was a bit more windy and narrow. It seems to be familiar as well, since you in your travels have come up and down this corridor a number of times before, as well as traveling overland alongside. The closer you get to the sea, the smoother and broader the river gets, until it eventually opens up quite broadly at Halefort. It is dark, so you can't see much beyond the edges of the river, but you know roughly about where you are in relation to things. There's a couple of small villages that you're familiar with. You can see their dark silhouettes passing by. A couple of the little docks have small lanterns, some of which are still on for late night trawling and fishing, looking for crayfish and things like that in the shallows. And it's quiet and peaceful. The night's partly cloudy, and you can see the moon, which is about half full at this point, I think, as well as a number of stars. It's quite dark, so you can see usual constellation. And Barwin is up there driving the boat with you. yeah, that time passes relatively uneventfully, unless there is anything the two of you wish to discuss or care of.
Oh, I'm very happy for you, Avery. How many do you want? Wow. Have you always wanted kids? Well, I imagine they would be quite fearsome, knowing you. Well, I assume he's where I left him, back where I grew up. I haven't seen him for 3 years, so I'm not sure. He may have moved, but knowing him, I highly doubt it. I would say not, Avery. I loved Roderick more than I've loved anyone else. But I love this. Traveling, fighting, finding things, doing things, and feeling useful and needed. And I made the choice that I loved that more than I loved him. If he were to change and love these things too, perhaps, but then I wonder if maybe I wouldn't love him as much as I did, because he would not be the Roderick I fell in love with. So I would say not. Excuse me, good Avery. I made a choice that was right for me, and I do not feel sorry for myself, so thou should not feel sorry for me. Oh. Wow.
The stakes are so high. The stakes are so high.
I am so happy for you, good Avery. Has he proposed to you yet? Perhaps thou shouldst propose to him. In fact, I have a ring. Would thou like it? Oh, so thou knew thou were being a dick and still said those things. Avery, my opinion of thee has changed greatly in these past 2 hours. Avery, I am surprised that thou wouldst taking a life so lightly to joke about impulse control and being an assassin. Goodness me. Well, that is true. Sometimes. I've made the same decision many times. Yes. I never do so lightly. And be not confused. Avery, be not. Thou dost do the things thou dost do for the reasons that thou dost them for. I merely was shocked when thou said that the reason thou art an assassin is because you have poor impulse control, which to me sounds that you make impulsive decisions. And if thou just wish to do that, then that is fine. I mean, I understand that poor impulse control means perhaps you do not make those choices. Goodness. Well then, as a trade for what? Or as a trade as an occupation? Oh. I'm sorry, Avery. That is awful. Yes. Then I think, Avery, perhaps you have, in this area, quite strong impulse control. I wish thee the best of luck. I'm sure he will receive it well.
God.
Nothing. 'Tis mine gift to thee. My
All I
pleasure.
have to say to you, Brenna, is you better have spell slots to heal around.
Oh, God. You was going to say, you say heal
I've
like
got
you're going to be
diamonds.
alive. Raz about to get unalived.
Yeah,
Yes,
Avery
several.
would sound like a diamond as well. For the ring. I will let you keep them, and I'll come to thee if I am ever in need.
Good Lord. It is about this time, Rav, that your rest is ending. You can click through having finished your long rest. And Rav will be coming up on deck just then to relieve Avery of the watch. And around this time, Yori is also going to be ready to relieve Barwin from the ship.
Good evening, Yori. Barwin walks away and goes to bed.
Which means that on deck right now are Ravelor, Yori, and Avery ready to depart.
Oh, and Rav runs into Barwin on her way to her chamber.
That's true.
And he puts an arm on her and says, Barwin, I cannot thank thee enough for thy wise counsel and thy help in mine sticky predicament. Thou art a true friend, who wants only the best for me, and would ne'er do anything to endanger me. I thank thee heartily.
You're welcome, good Raveler. You're very, very welcome. So tired. I must myself away to sleep. And goodbye. Yeah. And she walks away.
Sweet dreams, Barwin, my dear friend. I shall see thee in the morn.
Mm-hmm. So,
He goes up onto deck.
mm-hmm.
Yori, I have been searching for thee everywhere, for I do mean to speak to Avery. Well, thou art here too. Indeed, I need not look up to see bright, beauteous stars, for I do see the two of you, mine fine female friends, whom I do care for greatly and equally. Indeed. About that. She hath used mine own move against me. This is another aside, by the way. Rab goes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's been 9 days. This is the 9th day.
Avery, thou art wonderful.
Is Avery down on one knee right now?
Oh man.
Rav gets down on both knees so they're at eye level. Nay, I have something better than a ring for thee, Avery. I have for thee the truth. And like a ring, it doth bind a person and encircle us both. So I must tell thee now, I am not one for monogamy. I am not one for these human conventions of marriage or sex with one person. These are not the ways of my people and mine heart. But to say that I care for thee not would be an even greater lie, for thou art special and impressive and, truth be told, terrifying. These are all great qualities. And if thou wouldst take it slow and put away thy golden manacle that thou dost menace me with, I would get to know thee slowly over time. Nay. Sorry, was Yuri gonna say something?
He's very determinedly not saying anything.
Yeah. Roll for initiative.
In truth, Avery, mayhaps I have feelings for Yuri, but those diminish not mine feelings for thee or for Podrick. Avery, no! Avery, no! What hast thou done?
Oh God.
Oh my god.
Hast thou the constitution for such a thing? Avery, stop it! Thou art making me regret my decision! Avery! Avery! Rev buries his head in his hands.
Yori, you and Rav are alone on the deck now. Yori at the wheel, Rav head in hands.
Yori, thou hast not for me? No words of comfort? No friendly banter? Hast thou abandoned me too? Is that what thou would have me do, Yori? For I would much prefer to discuss things with thee, for thou hast been like a wisp of smoke. Would that I had zone of truth in mine bag of tricks. For seems 'tis the only way to know the depths of thine hearts. And he sprints away.
All right. No one. No one is currently on watch. Yeah, no. Like, where it's what I don't know. Third base. Yori is driving. Avery is below decks, asleep or not, hard to say. Rav. Is Rav foregoing the watch in a fit of emotion?
No, I think he takes his fit of emotion up to the crow's nest. It is the most dramatic place to be sad, after all.
It's true. Ask Caliban. Okay, so is Rav then gonna take watch up there? You can roll a perception check.
All right.
Oh.
$24. Okay. The night passes on quietly. For hours, there's no sounds but the moderate noises of the ship creaking, of Yori adjusting the wheel on occasion to keep a steady heading. There are soft noises of birds that are waking very early as it's approaching dawn. The sky's not even really gray yet still. Looking ahead, you can see the contours of the river broadening out even more. And there are a number of smaller boats moving in and out of the shallow areas and tributaries that seem to be feeding into this area of the mouth. Smaller rivers are beginning to conjoin with the larger Lewen here before it kind of broadens out into a basin. As the sun begins to rise, however, Rav, in a long stretch of straightaway in the river, and just as you can sort of see a horizon, you see a single column of thick black smoke. You always roll high perception checks when you're on watch, and they are close. Always seems to happen. Rav, you can see that they are a good ways behind you, and one of the reasons you're able to see it is that the column of smoke extends so high. So it's hard to say exactly how close they are, but it does seem that they must be making up ground, since it's been some time, days, since you've seen the spaniel in pursuit. And while you can't quite make out the boat itself in the dim light of twilight, you can tell that the smoke is getting closer.
I me, some other foe. Well, be it not the face of woman, then I think I have the strength to fight it. And then he uses. Oh, maybe that's a bad idea to spend spell slots right now. Okay, fine. He just sprints downstairs and sounds the alarm.
Okay. The rest of you, as you are in the cloudy haze of twilight and the gray of dawn, just at the end of what would be your long rests. So all of you who are resting can click through, having done so. Rav begins to sound an alarm, pounding on people's doors, calling out for you to wake. The sun is rising, and there are people around. As you come up to the decks, you can see that there are people fishing off the shores of the river. There are small boats moving in the shallows, drifting downstream, some poling upstream for closer distances. It seems otherwise a very calm late spring morning or mid-spring morning. However, in the distance, a column of black smoke grows ever closer. It would be difficult at this point. It's pretty far away, so you could guess that it would be hard for them to make out specifically your vessel, and it's much easier for you to tell it's them because of the smoke. But soon they will be invisibility.
Mm. Mm.
Friends, shall we not test the magic boat?
Well, we could remove all the ones that would be the most difficult.
Yeah, most of it's beneficial. Spin. Spin.
Spin the wheel.
Mhm.
Wait, but does it cost spell slots to get rid of?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So
We might be better off saving those spell slots.
We could. Oh.
That's one of them?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
This is the Ship of Fools, after all. You just haven't rolled that one yet.
How far away from our destination?
You would get there by around midday today, sailing. It would be a bit slower on foot.
And you were saying that there are like locals on the side fishing. People are fishing.
That's right. Yeah.
I worry for the civilians along the side. Mayhap we keep going. And hopefully to a safer place, or to a place where maybe we have reinforcements. For these fishermen, I doubt hold arms.
I know that we did try this before to little success, but I think that if I did cast my mage hand and had it point in a different direction, mayhaps they would follow it. Of course. And the size is tiny. Perhaps another plan then, for I'm an integral part of this group.
I think we should. Yeah. We may get fly speed. Who knows?
Would you-
Will.
Is someone going to spin the wheel?
I'll do it.
Okay, so Yori was driving, I believe. So it depends on if you're doing this right around sunlight, then Yori is still at the helm. So it's up to you what you want to do as far as channeling the boat's magic, spinning the wheel. What do you reckon? Okay. What are you going to do as far as spell slots go?
Biscuit. Let's get that biscuit.
Yep. It's one level. A level 1 spell slot gets rid of one option. A level 2 spell slot or 2 level 1 spell slots gets rid of 2. Yeah, it's basically a 1-to-1 correlation. Okay, that's number 5. So then, if that's the one you're getting rid of, you can basically roll a d10 and re-roll a 5. Ah, how interesting. Yori, as you spin the wheel 3 times Widdershins, as you always do counterclockwise, once, twice, 3 times, you can feel the sort of magic that comes from you, almost like a surge of emotion within you. Your skin gets warm, there's a cold sweat on the back of your neck, and then a jolt of connection as the grains of the ship's wheel sort of conform to your fingers where you're holding onto it. You suddenly feel your hands extend, almost as though the entire ship is at your fingertips. And it feels malleable, almost like clay. You can, in your mind's eye, see the entire ship, almost like a schematic, moved around from the top and from sides and bottom. And at the very flick of your will, the colors of the ship change. The figurehead changes from a donkey to another animal. The sails change colors rapidly. The mastheads move and change. Yori, at your will, you can change the physical appearance of the Headless Mary in any way that you wish, as long as it maintains its basic ship form. The rest is totally customizable by you. So, what's Yori gonna do with that? So the wording of the effect, just so you know, is not going to change the ship's size. So it's not going to become a small vessel. It can be a ship just like it is now, size wise, but it can look totally different. Yeah. You'd have seen a handful as you're sailing. Yeah, there's what you're in size wise is referred to as a keelboat. And it's kind of like a largish vessel for a river, but it would be a quite small one for the ocean. It's you would have seen a few like sloops or smaller vessels. A keelboat like yours is probably about the largest you would have seen. You could definitely make it look like just a different keelboat, like with different sails and different trimmings and colors and anything like that if you like. You can also get more creative as long as it's not changing. You can't make it a little rowboat. Yep.
Does it have to look like a boat?
It has to, it has to be the shape of the ship. Yeah, you could make it look like whatever. Like, cosmetically, you can do whatever you want.
Mermaid. Make it a mermaid.
We make it look like a military ship.
Can we make it look like a shipwreck? And we're just like an abandoned ship, and we all just go hiding. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Alabaster.
In that case, you might have to hide the plague doctor Birdman.
Yeah, for an hour at a time, you can have that going. Yeah.
Hi. Good Yori. Good plan. I will go down. I will go below deck, but mayhap we need a safe word if things were to go awry. What shall you yell if you need some extra firepower? Good one.
That is my safe word. Thou canst borrow it.
Okay, so okay.
Yeah. I might also go up to the crow's nest if that's all right with everyone. Because I want to try to use, once they become visible, I want to try using Know Your Enemy on one of them, so I can sense their stats.
Okay. Yeah, Buckle, you can do that. It'll be crowded in the crow's nest with two of you up there, especially.
Or maybe I can wait, like... Yeah, or maybe I can stay on deck, and you can stay in the crow's nest.
Okay. Yeah.
Are we, the rest of us, are we crammed down below decks?
I might go into the crow's nest. feel like it'd be cozy and warm.
Yeah.
He needs a hug. No, I'm going downstairs.
Okay.
But like not into my room, just into. Well, I'll stand in my doorway, like, so I can hear things.
Okay.
Uh-oh, we're getting the
We're getting a
echo.
little bit of an echo now, I think.
Okay, I had that.
Maybe it was just a quirk, a ghost in the machine.
Well-
Okay. So if everyone's going below decks, except Caliban is going to be invisible in the crow's nest, and then Buckle is going to be on deck with Yori.
I'm at the very front of the ship, like hiding behind.
Okay. If you're gonna hide, Buckle, you can make a stealth check.
Oh no, but I will do that.
All right.
This is
Caliban, you can do that as well.
Buckle
Yeah, I
roll
might
stealth.
hide in the crow's nest as well.
Hey, that was a disadvantage roll. I rolled 17 both times, so that's 19.
Because of your armor. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so it's just a flat 17, I assume? Or no, you're a Dexy.
Plus,
Dexy boy.
it's 19 total.
19. All right. Good stuff. All right, Buckle. You managed to find a pretty decent spot. What's this? Who's that? Oh, I thought it was a nat 20. 22. Okay. Perhaps following Caliban's lead, in fact, which is a good idea when hiding.
Yep.
Caliban manages to find a spot which is like sort of in the stern, or is Caliban in the crow's nest? So never mind. You wouldn't be following Caliban's lead. Buckle, you would find your way back to the stern of the ship at where there is railing all around the ship. So Yori's control of the ship has turned all of that distinctive grained rowan wood into very basic oak timbers, or maple, something very nondescript. And instead of having the sort of like fancy sort of railing going around, which it has long had, it is now just sort of flat boxy sort of appearance, which offers much better cover. And if you sort of duck and lean back against that corner, you can very easily get out of sight. You will have to kind of peek up over the edge if you want to start scoping somebody out, which require you to get a little more creative then. But you're pretty you feel pretty well hidden. And Caliban up in the crow's nest, it's very easy for you to dip down below the sort of eye line and just sort of peek your eye above, and you're further away as well. Okay, so everyone else being below decks, the minutes begin to creep by. Yori, as you've put your axe down below, or down on the ground, you're driving the ship, and most vessels are giving way. There is a bit of a moment, Caliban, I would say, given your passive perception, where you're not entirely certain if you've been noticed as your ship has suddenly changed. Because this is just like daylight. You're going down the river and this very distinct looking ship just like presto changeo into a very basic vessel. But after sort of keeping eye side to side, you don't notice much of a fallout from that. It's not crowded along the way, and no one seems to be giving you very, very direct gaze for a long time. The smoke plume gets closer, and at some point, after a few minutes of sailing like this, it's close enough that you can see the distinct outline of the Spaniel, ship that has been tailing you for a week at this point, a 10-day.
Can we make out any people on board?
So Buckle and Caliban can both make perception checks. You're driving. If you want to, you can. You'd be looking like, it's just like back over your shoulder kind of a thing. Or it's up to you. You can.
Dang it!
You can also channel magic to put the ship on autopilot. That's a 3 from Buckle. Pretty hard to make out from where you're crouched. It's also difficult for you to put your head up over without feeling like you're exposing yourself. So you're kind of like frequently having to kind of get back down and then looking up and not really getting much when you're looking. Caliban, with a 15, you make out from your vantage point the distinct two-leveled or two-tiered profile of the ship, which seems to have two kind of like long running bases and then a bigger one in the middle that's slightly raised. And the smoke is emerging from the back. Now this ship is creating a little bit of a stir from the banks because this is a very irregular vessel and it is moving fast. It is like, okay, yeah. You can do that. So Caliban, invisible where you are, your stealth check is less relevant. You can pretty much just stand there in the crow's nest comfortably and look down. As it gets closer, Buckle, even with your sort of cursory glances over the edge, you can see there is one figure, a man, who is at the helm of this vessel towards the back. And there is another figure near the front of the vessel looking forward. And the smoke is deep and black and as vivid and fast pumping as you have seen it. When you had a close encounter with this vessel before, you were just close enough to see it in action when it fired back up again. And it seems to be just going full bore. The front of the ship is kind of elevated slightly. The prow, just like a sailing ship would be when there's a very strong wind behind it.
I try to spend a minute analyzing the driver.
Okay. You can give that a go. Given the speed of the ship, you're not standing still, so it will be sort of keeping pace for a little bit, but it's clearly moving faster than your ship.
Okay.
So you'll have some time. Tell me about Know Your Enemy.
If I spend at least 1 minute observing or interacting with another creature outside of combat, I can learn information. I can learn 2 of its characteristics of my choice. So strength, dex, constitution, armor class, HP, class levels.
Mm-hmm.
But if I spend a minute observing a creature.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll say you are able to get that. Just.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very direct engagement because of the speed of everything involved.
Yeah.
So, you're looking at the person at the helm, right? So, which person? Sorry, was it you were saying you want to see?
The person driving, the person at the wheel.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
So
sorry,
there's
that's what the
two-
helm is. I don't know ship words.
Yeah, that's fine. The steering wheel of the ship in the back, because there's 2 people. There's one sort of in the front at the prow, and one driving.
Yeah.
Cool. So, yes, at this point. So what would Buckle like to know? What 2 things would Buckle like to know?
Oh, I definitely want to know their AC and current hit points.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is like player mechanics information that Pedro will have.
Yes.
As far as like narrative information, this is you quickly getting stock that this person is light on their feet. They seem to have a firm command of the wheel, and in addition to being extremely nimble, which for our purposes, you can tell that they are wearing some studded leather armor, which is as they get closer, you can tell quite finely made. And this person has a very active, assertive posture. They have an armor class of 16. And they also look quite sturdy, with hit points, with 70 hit points. This is and as far as like what Buckle takes in, you're sizing this person up as someone. This would be a tough fight one-on-one. This person clearly seems to know their way around. As it gets closer, you can see that there is a scimitar as well as some daggers kind of periodically placed. Which as the ship is getting a bit closer to the sides, he's pulling a kind of a cloak over his armor and fastening them, but you're used to sizing people up this way. Caliban, from your vantage point up above, you can see, as you have a bit more leisure to look, you can see that the person in the back, as much as I described to Pedro, there's another person in the prow of the vessel, a woman who is wearing a robe of some description. It's just kind of a dark robe, cinched in tight, but looks rather finely made as you get close. This is a person who has the look of someone who would make a good mark for you when you were in your street thieving days. She is standing very proudly as well, quite tall at the front and looking at the sides of the river and directly ahead. Getting an echo from someone very keenly. This is true. Give me just a moment. Make sure I've got the right info to give you.
From this moment.
Okay, yeah. So as they get closer, you can see the woman in the front is human, looks to be in her late 30s, early 40s, possibly. Her head is shaven. She has light brown skin, and they don't get close enough for you to get very many close details, but you can tell that sort of profile clearly. And the fellow in the back is a human man with really dark brown hair, and the armor that he's wearing is black underneath the brown cloak that he's pulling kind of around himself. As their ship is approaching and pulling up alongside in the river to pass your vessel, both of these creatures look over at your vessel, taking in the ship as they go by. Possible. Yeah. You've had a couple. Well, yeah. Let's see. Your ship was invisible, and you were invisible, and you popped in and out of visibility from a distance. So it was quite a bit of kerfuffle, and not much close up in face-to-face contact. However, this is a bit of a high-pressure situation for you, right? So this is a situation that requires you already kind of like play it cool, and not seem like she is like looking closely at them or anything like that. So right.
That's not suspicious. Oh, he's invisible. It's fine.
It's true. He's brave. Okay. Yori's disposition does affect the DC required for this check, but what you are playing it cool. So this is like, unless you have proficiency in one of the specific charisma skills, this is probably a basic charisma check. It could be performance, but yeah, just a d20 and your charisma modifier. Oh, look at that journey. Or minus charisma. Okay, +1. Yeah. Good. Yeah, no. Okay. Caliban, from your vantage point, you can see Yori cannot, because Yori is very determinedly, I imagine, staring forward, focusing on the wheel, looking at the prow of the ship, keeping things on an even heading. Caliban and Buckle, on occasion, you can see that they give your ship and Yori a once over, and the man at the helm doesn't seem to look for very long. The woman in the front gives a much more thorough examination, sort of looking at your ship top to tail, up and down. And
is this enough time for me to give the woman at the front a thorough
examination? You definitely don't have a full
minute.
They are moving quickly, and you're going reasonably fast for a boat your size, but they're trucking past you. And yeah, you have probably 10-15 seconds really with her, as opposed to the longer approach time you had with the guy at the helm. She looks at Yori very specifically for a bit, just sort of taking her in, face impassive, and then looks forward. Neither of them say anything to each other in this time, Caliban, so you don't get a lip read. But the ship goes speeding past you. As it goes past you, the people who are on the sides of the bank, such as they are like marveling and pointing to each other and looking at it. There are just gouts of black smoke coming out of a tall pipe, a kind of dark metallic chimney, as it were. And on occasion, at the very rim of the chimney, you can see sparks flying up, some of which are sort of yellow, but some of which are green, as well as the sort of basic sort of flame sparks that you can see. And there is an acrid smell now that you are behind the ship, and the way that the wind has been blowing, and it wafts across the whole deck straight into your faces. It smells horrific. It's extremely bitter and hot, almost like acid, that kind of astringency to it. But they pass you by, and they go at a good clip directly ahead until you lose sight of them around a bend of the river, but you see the plume of smoke for some time thereafter. Yeah, I bet. Oh.
Buckle salutes back.
Yeah, they rolled 7 and 6 respectively. It's just them's the traps sometimes for your NPCs. Who could cause a lot more trouble for your players if they rolled differently.
Well, then let's go catch them.
Yeah, you're behind them.
Yeah.
For the rest till the next day when you spin that wheel again.
If they're out of sight, Buckle would like to scutter. He would like to go downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
But along the way, tell Yori what he saw of the man.
So yeah, you gather that he seems like a bit of a tough cookie.
Mm-hmm. Yori, I feel like there are more urgent matters at hand at present. No, but we should have this conversation when we are in safety. No, we should have this conversation. I want to have this conversation, but not now. But definitely. And the Buckle runs downstairs.
I think that is probably a good time for us to switch to our break. It's a good transition point. When we come back, you will be just scant hours of sail from Halefort, and you will have arrived very close to your final intended destination. And we'll have a chat about what you intend to do in your newfound disguise, which you have yet to get from your chaos magic from the boat. It is now 8:55. For those watching on the stream, we'll reconvene, I think, at 9:05, about 10 minutes. Players and viewers, go ahead, get yourself a tea or what have you, whatever you need. We'll be back in 10 minutes to regroup and play the next half of our session for Bardic Inspiration. We will see you then. We are back. Welcome back, everyone, after the break. It's time to pick up with some more Bardic Inspiration with the Headless Marys. When we left off 10 minutes ago, there was subterfuge, a trick. They employed the ship's chaos magic and got an option that they've never gotten before, which allowed Yori, driving the ship, to customize the appearance of the ship however she desired. She made it, in her words, as boring a ship as possible. So totally undistinct, a simple keel boat like others that they have seen in the region. Nothing particular about this, which I didn't say at the time, but means that the sort of glowing magical lamps that usually are around the sides are now just very rudimentary looking lanterns like a normal ship would have. The sails are a typical sort of eggshell color. The wood no longer that fine veneer of dark wood. It's all very basic looking. Very, very basic, except for the battle-hardened halfling at the helm, who had to play it cool as though it didn't matter as the ship went by, which I've named a couple of times out loud, but as it went past, you would have seen written on the side in a kind of fancy script are the words in common, the Spaniel, which is apparently the name of the vessel. And you smelled the bitter, acrid black smoke, which was emitting some yellow and green sparks as well from the chimney at the back as it sped past, moving as quickly as you have likely ever seen it move before, causing quite a stir, and also from folks along the side, no small amount of consternation. when they pass you, you also would feel a pretty considerable wake as the ship is leaving behind it, and it kind of bounces the ship back and forth. So all of this was happening while Caliban and Buckle were getting a read on these two people. A person standing at the prow of the ship, a woman in a robe, and the driver, who's wearing some studded leather armor and a cloak. As they went past, all of you, the rest of you, were crammed below decks of the Headless Mary. And I'm curious as to what was going on in that time, as there's just been some things said in the last 12 to 20 hours between you, and you're all in close quarters below there, possibly about to be having a fight, possibly about to having to sprint up to the decks, maybe hiding there for some time. What's the vibe? What is happening?
Rav is sitting between Podrick and Avery.
Podrick can't look anyone in the eye.
Avery, roll a d20. Roll a d20, Avery.
For initiative?
Nope, I'll tell you why. Avery, with a 17, you lean forward and vomit all over Rav's lap, and Rav, as that stream of hot vomit splatters off of your body, there is a small thud just after the last heave, and sitting in your lap is a small round ring.
Podrick smells the vomit and then starts vomiting.
Yeah.
He instantly gets seasick again.
And
also throws up in Ravelor's lap.
the timing is right when that wake from the ship goes by and the whole ship lurches up and down. It's too much.
What came out of my mouth? What came out of my mouth? A suppository.
Yeah. What has Podrick eaten? That's what comes out of his mouth. Breakfast, if you've had it even. It's like cramming some hard oat cakes down and then immediately up chucking or something like that.
My apologies, Ravelor.
Avery, Podrick, thine regurgitations and ejaculations hath earned one of mine own. I love thee both.
One of your ejaculations? My regurgitations have earned you an ejaculation?
Thou hast ejaculated vomit from thine mouth onto mine body. Why art thou being filthy, Podrick? For I am speaking of feelings.
I speak on. Speak on.
Much vomit.
There, Podrick. And Rav puts an arm over each of them. I shall nurse both of thee back to health. For indeed... She what it? Avery, now is not the time for foreplay. To Barwin. Barwin,
So good.
hast thou told Avery that I, Ravelor the Long and Untamed, is in search of monogamy? Ravelor throws up all over Barwin. Well,
Podrick throws up all over Barwin.
Where is all of this vomit coming from? You've eaten nothing.
He gets seasick. We know this.
Yeah, you've got to be dry heaving at this point.
okay.
It's just vile.
Rude.
Also, Rav was thrown
That's
up
so
on
funny.
twice. I feel like he's within his rights to throw up. That'd be pretty gross.
God, look, yeah. You've been vomited on twice.
Can I
Barwin?
just say that I think vomit might be one of my red flags?
You have to say the word help.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that, Ryan. Be advised.
Yeah. Nah, I'm okay.
Barwin, why didst thou do such a thing? Thou whomst I did trust, thou who'st did advise me and tie me to a chair. Barwin, thou didst promise me thou wouldst not fall in love with me too. Hast thou acted out of jealousy? Barwin, I could never hate thee, for thou art goodness and kindness, and I do know that my charms be most irresistible, so I blame thee not for falling victim to them. Well, I forgive thee.
At a certain point, Buckle comes downstairs, ready to say something, sees the vomit, walks back up.
Rav picks Avery's ring out of the vomit and cleans it off a little and hands it to Barwin. And Avery, hearing this, dost thou not recant thy proposal? Canst we not discuss other options that include not matrimony? Methinks 'tis quite a strong reaction. Couldst we not have an open dialogue? Avery, be not this way. After all, we hath a son together. Hast thou... What? Hast thou not forgotten about Alda, whom I am the father of? Nay, she is my son.
Incidentally, Barwin, at about this time, you've got a very strange and suddenly very severe itch.
Oh no.
It's like in the back of your thighs and the back of your knees and your calves. Suddenly it just feels like it's crawling with this kind of tormenting low heat and tickle. There is redness slowly spreading along those areas, and it is inflamed and itching something terrible.
Can we all see that?
Barwin is just kind of doing this quietly while this momentous conversation is happening. Podrick, you are like recovering from sick. If Barwin makes note of it, then maybe. Caliban is upstairs, so no.
Patrick looks and throws up at the rash. Bowen, hither. Try some lemon myrtle. And Patrick gets some lemon myrtle from his bag and bruises it a little bit and rubs it on, gives it to Bowen to rub on it.
She tries desperately to see if it makes a difference.
Okay. Here's the thing, Podrick, / John Mark. Podrick is very good at nature and plant-oriented things, and John Mark likes to recommend lemon myrtle for everything. So this, I think it might be fun, just as an ongoing challenge. Is let's actually find out what lemon myrtle is good for in this world. So
no, John Mark has done this, and everything is the answer.
Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna have you. What's the best way?
Lemon myrtle is a subtle lemon leaf that it provides a nice aroma and a slight citrusy taste to many dishes. Also, soothing of the stomach. Is you see it a lot of MasterChef at the moment.
Yeah. See, my concern is that it's also perhaps a bit astringent or bitter.
Google says it's an anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Well,
it's a native indigenous plant that's used for a lot of medicines.
Antimicrobials as well.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. No, we can stick.
Also, a delicious kombucha flavor.
Is there kombucha in this world, Adam?
Kombucha's been around for generations. I would assume
it's just fermentation.
Yeah, it's just
fermented tea.
Yeah.
There you go.
You know, hey, one of y'all wants to roll up an artificer who specializes in fantasy kombucha one day and high concept stuff, I say.
Not really. This doesn't sound very fun.
Anyway, so Patrick's healed Barwin. Is that what you're saying?
I reckon if rubbing some of that lemon myrtle on there will have a bit of a soothing effect in the area where you rub it. It does, you know, maybe not as intense as aloe vera, but in a similar kind of way.
How's that?
Thank you, Patrick.
You're welcome.
Tis somewhat better. Is anyone else itching? Is it just me?
Nay, I feel no itch.
Surely my guilt from my insides coming to the outside, showing the world what truly an awful person I have been on this day.
Nay, Barwin.
Yes, Barwin.
Nay. For I have done many a terrible thing in my life, and it has never manifested itself thusly.
Yes, but I think it is my guilt in what how we are different.
Oh, you mean to say that of all the acts that you've done, you never got a rash from it?
Nay.
Oh. Surely not.
Thanks to a stealth check of 6, falling below all of your passive perceptions, even the lowest, with a little bit of a scratching sound, you can hear from one of the doors nearby a noise and a brief glimpse of golden shimmer as a long neck and head retract, turtle-like, into the door from which they have been peeking out of.
Like a sitcom, we all look at the door and go, Alda!
Alda, I did not write the letter. It is not my fault.
I'm so proud of you. Sweet son, Alda, why art thou hiding? Come forth.
There's no response.
You faked us out, Adam. You did the Alda face, and then you said,
do it again. Do the Alda face again. Now do the peas blossom face.
You know, they're right here, Padraig. You can talk to them.
I don't want to see their face.
Yeah, all you gotta do is chat. They're around.
No, thank you.
Alda is staying put unless you try to engage further. Playing it off as though she was not spotted.
What makes you think that she's not coming out? Shall I thorn whip her out? I can do that.
Patrick.
I should like to see thee try.
Oh, she's definitely there. She's definitely there. Okay.
Alda, what is it? What didst thou use?
Alda steps lightly out of the door, does her best to do so with dignity, but manages to scrape her wings slightly against the frame. Pretending that didn't happen, she continues walking forward and goes right down the middle of the hallway around which all of you are sort of sitting. She steps over the vomit and then looks back at all of you, especially Barwin, and says, "I have no idea what you mean," and then continues to walk down the hallway, turns, and then goes under the table out of sight.
Shall I thorn whip her now?
Nay, Podrick, thou canst not fix all thy problems with thorn whip, just as thou canst not run away from thine feelings.
Podrick runs away into his room.
Yori and Buckle, you are topside at this point, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else is down below. You know you have...
Buckle very vaguely describes the vomit situation to Yori. I know. Adam, you were saying?
So you have a few hours before you get to Halefort proper. What are you going to do, Headless? This is your time to figure out your sort of plan of approach here. So
how can we still see the ship?
It's gone well out of sight at this point.
Okay.
So again, you have a couple hours ahead of you, and they were going a good bit faster than you at this point. So and if you catch up to them or they slow down, which is what that would take, then I will let you know.
Yeah.
If you see.
Okay, I might take off my mask so I can smell a bit better. Just so if we're getting closer to that acrid smell, I'll have an awareness of that.
Sure.
I reckon, gentles, could everyone come up on the deck? Down in under the deck smells really bad, and if we're going to discuss what we're going to do next, I want not to be under there.
Indeed. Rav casts his mage hand and uses it to brush all the vomit off of him.
Yeah, I mean, look, the solid chunks come off.
But he squeegees it off using the mage hand.
You'll have limited success.
Yeah.
I want to roll for how successful my mage hand vomit squeegee.
Roll a sleight of hand check.
Wait, literally?
Yeah, why not?
You just did it for the hand pun, didn't you?
Mostly. Sleight of mage hand.
Oh no.
Yeah, it turns out about how you would expect. Squeegeeing vomit out of cloth with a hand would go. Not
what
well.
about a spectral hand?
Yeah, less well. It has less pressure at its disposal.
Fine. Rab comes upstairs covered in vomit still.
Avery, we are soon to reach this town, but we know not where we're taking Alda, and whether it will be possible to smuggle her to where we need to go without the benefit of having a ship to hide her. Can you tell us where we're going next?
I can, and we have two options. The first option is that we can dock at Halefort, and I have a contact in the city that can be trusted. His name is Bertram, and he works for Vela, who will be picking up Alda. So we can either dock in the city and try find him at the tavern, or we can continue sailing to the cave, Alda's cave. So it's a matter of risk. Do we want to continue sailing onto the cave, or do we want to go into the city and see if we can smuggle her through that way?
Could we dock and then travel with Bertram and Alda to the cave on foot?
I believe we could.
Avery, you would know that the easiest approach for the cave is by sea. You can get there by land if you know the way, but it's a bit more difficult terrain, and it would take longer.
Okay.
It's outside of the city. Well, it's not like right now.
Okay.
And Avery, I cannot remember if we've established this, but do they that sail the Spaniel know of this cave? Is that where they're headed, or are they just chasing us, or do they know of our destination?
Do I know that, Adam?
Avery, you would be surprised if they knew precisely where the cave was. As far as you know, the cave is a safe location.
Yeah. They don't know the general location. They don't know the specific location of the cave, but they know that it's in this general vicinity. I anticipate that they'll be scouting throughout the city and further up the path to the cave. Bertram might be able to help us if we decide to dock in the city, or we could just continue on up.
I fear. That's a possibility. My only concern would be that they would be waiting in the town for us.
The tavern where Bertram operates from is secret. I don't believe that the Four Winds would know.
Sounds like a terrible business operation.
Well, it's below a tavern that other people know about. So.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Well, the main tavern is called the Lookout, and the secret tavern is called the Lookout Below.
Sounds like a chain, doesn't it?
I believe so. This place is full of trusted contacts of my own, and also Bertram and Vela.
How can we get Alda through a city to... I realize I'm reneging on the idea that I suggested, but would it be possible to take Alda through the city without her being spotted?
You pose a good question. I don't know.
Shall we do the same that we did last time?
Ooh.
I mean, would it be safer for some to stay on the boat and then some to go find Bertram?
I would say that would be the safest arrangement. If we must have Bertram, if we do not need him, maybe we just sail on, much to Yori's chagrin. And mine too, if I'm honest. I would love to feel
Me too.
solid land under my feet, but also if it means that we can... I mean, that seems to be the safest course to get Alda to the destination, but maybe that's not very fun either.
Fine, let's find Bertram.
Yes.
Let's
That
vote.
is better.
Okay. I.
Oh.
To save everyone's feelings, maybe we should have a blind vote. So
It's too late.
Was the plan for half to find Bertram and half to stay on the ship and mind the ship? Was that the plan?
I'm happy to stay on the ship.
Me also.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I do. I can always stand on the dock next to the ship if I need to.
I shall do whatever Ravelor doesn't.
At this point, Alda, there's a scratch from around the side, and some more very dignified, slow steps coming around the corner. Alda stands there, sits, and sort of presses her chest out wide and holds her neck up to its height and head sort of down, so that it's around kind of level. Are you all above decks at this point?
Yeah.
Okay, so she's come up the stairs to the entrance. She's not visible from outside that area, but she's right there behind where all of you are. And then she says, I shall have thee know that I can breathe underwater.
Ooh.
Oh.
I need not stay on this vessel any further. If you can get me into the water, I shall thither be safe. And you may leave me behind.
Alda, canst thou really breathe underwater, or is this an attempt to be kind to us?
Wouldst thou like to have a competition, Sir Buckle?
Yes.
Barrels. All right, I'm gonna go across to the side and I grab two barrels and I lower them into the water. Barrel's big enough for a wormling's head.
So like a bucket or something, yeah.
Yeah, a bucket. Yeah, and pull the buckets up and then put them next to each other and say, "All right, go for it."
Caliban, canst thou not pull up a third bucket so we might clean ourselves of vomit?
No, we've only got 2 buckets on this ship. They are much needed for this competition.
Buckle gets up to the... he walks up to the bucket, gets on his knees, and he's like, please pull me out when it ends. And then it just, and it just lowers his head inside.
Okay, Buckle, make a Constitution saving throw, or a Constitution check, I should say. Not a saving throw, just make a Constitution check. The roll that you get will determine how long you're able to hold your breath. Tough. Okay, so I think what's Buckle's Constitution modifier? Is that +4?
+4.
Okay, so that's not a great roll, but Buckle's a sturdy boy. And Constitution, your modifier is part of what determines how long you can hold your breath. So in spite of that low roll, Buckle, you shove your head into the water and sort of just center yourself and get ready, and Buckle's just there for a good while, long enough to be impressive to everybody else.
At one point, Buckle lifts up a thumbs up while his head's underwater.
Alda has done the same as well. Alda's head is in the water, and she's sitting there. Buckle, after a while, your lungs start to burn. You can feel the breath starting to try to pummel its way out of your lungs to take that first breath.
Buckle definitely no longer remembers why he's doing this.
Yeah. And so as you come gasping up for air, water splashing everywhere, head soaking wet, you can see Alda. Her head is totally submerged, and she appears to be picking her claws with the other claws, just casually removing bits of dirt and wood from them, apparently utterly nonplussed. Her head underwater.
There'd be limited oxygen in that water, though. Wouldn't there? After a while, if she's not breathing oxygen. So, how long could we go away and do some chores and come back and she's still doing it, or?
Alda is able to breathe underwater.
Yeah,
she's amphibious.
It's legit. Yeah,
this is not a lie.
Rav takes the bucket and pours it on his vomit-soaked lap.
It is now somewhat less soiled, but soaking wet.
Okay, so we're gonna go to what's the town called? Halefort.
Halefort. It's like Halefort, but one word.
Halefort. I'll stay behind. Who else is going to go?
I'll stay with Caliban.
I can stay if that needs a third.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
good
I will-
if someone could drive the ship if we need to.
Yeah, we got Barwin.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Then should the rest of you go?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so then are you some of you staying on the ship? Is that what you decided?
Yeah.
Okay, so Alda doesn't need to go into
Yeah.
the water then.
No.
No,
But good to know
I
that
think
you-
I don't want to leave her
Yeah.
alone until
Mm.
she's
Yeah.
Mhm.
Even if she
been,
could stay in the
you know,
even if
nervous.
we,
No.
even if we put the ship back in the bottle and she went underwater, I would still stay like nearby. I think.
Yeah, fair. Your call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that case, you can strike a course downriver, and then within a couple of hours, you will start to see the activity around the boat and around the riverbanks increase dramatically. There are a number of farm settlements that come right up to the banks of the river. There is consistent boat traffic from smaller vessels and now larger vessels as well, as there seem to be some people who headquarter north of the city and then load their vessels and come down to the main docks. Once you get close enough, you can see that there are quite high walls surrounding Halefort proper, but long before you get to those walls, there is a sort of a slight sprawl that comes out north of it, and there is a gradually rising hill where that sprawl begins, and you can see to one side the walls, and in the far distance a citadel, a tall kind of fortress that is sitting on a cliff at the furthest southern point of Halefort. But there are a number of people going by on wagon carts on either side of the river, and at certain places there are large ferries that carts can be wheeled onto and taken across. There are no bridges, however, as the number of ships going by with long, tall masts seems to keep that from being a viable option. Once you get into the sort of hill outside of the city, you can see that there is effectively cityscape. It's not big, not a lot of tall buildings, but roads and streets with buildings of various sizes. It's kind of like the area to the south of Orst, where it's not quite a shanty town, but it's like a lower rent district, as it were. Avery, you would know this place to be called Preacher's Hill, which is a neighborhood just to the north of Halefort. When you get to the outer walls of the city proper, they're quite imposing. They are of a kind of gray-white stone that is very smooth. Not lots of little bricks, but quite a smooth expanse, at least a veneer of smooth stone on the outside. And there are guards you can see up at the top of them walking by. The river, where it goes into the city, seems to go straight into the center of this city, so you can see it expanding east and west from you. And there is a large portcullis expanding the entire width of the river that appears like it can be dropped into the river to block it coming from that direction at any point. There are a number of boats going to and fro beneath, and at the base of that portcullis there is a halfling man who is kind of drowsily sitting at a window looking out and kind of lazily making note in his parchment as vessels are going by. There are occasional city guards kind of dallying around the gate there, but they don't seem to be on high alert or anything like that. Just sort of daily business. Inside the actual city of Halefort, you've been to Orst in the last 10 days, and Halefort is much, much smaller than Orst, probably about a third the size in population. But it is a little bit different than Orst in that the walled area of it is smaller, and also there is a starker difference between the sort of inside and the outside area, whereas the outside was much more kind of maybe farmers and fisher types. Once you get into the inside, there is a very increased military presence, or at least there appears to be. You see more soldiers around, especially to the west, the right side of the boat as you're going out. There appear to be a number of military buildings the closer you get to the citadel area. There are some markets to the left, much smaller than those in Orst, but thriving nonetheless at this point in the day, which is still pretty early. A lot of people are out on business. There are some fancier sort of buildings and homes the closer you get to the sea, Nothing like the Upper Dock Market where you've been in Orst, but it does seem to have a sort of similar layout in as far as the nicer areas are closer to the main body of water. And when you get closer, you can see the citadel, the castle, as clear, far and away the most impressive feature of the cityscape. It is on a cliff that sort of rises up from the rest of the city and forms part of the array of cliffs that surround this bay, which becomes clear as you get close to the river mouth, where it broadens out distinctly, and you can see many more much larger vessels once you get there. You can see a number of high-masted ships, and there are like taller ocean-going vessels nestled in a deeper harbor, which seems to fall away rapidly from the river. It's much more tricky to drive in this place, so I think by this point in the day it might be Barwin back on the wheel when the switch happened. Whichever of you is driving, have a little bit more work, as also you've only been on lakes and rivers thus far. As you get to the mouth of the river itself, you're going to have to navigate the sort of breakwaters where it meets the end, and you have a choice. Avery, you know precisely where your destination is. You know, if you sort of bank left at the docks, you can find a slip there and dock with a keeper that you're acquainted with, and then from there you can make your way to the lookout below. But you are in Halefort now. You have made it. So, Headless Marys, it's up to you. Yeah. Who is staying back on the ship again? Podrick and Caliban and Barwin? Okay, so Buckle, Avery, Rav, and Yori will be taking to the lookout below. You can do so. Avery, when Barwin navigates the ship up to the docks area, you find an area that is a bit further off and reserved for ships that are sort of vessel size. There is a couple of attendants come up and toss ropes up for you to tie to dock yourself to, and as you're all busying yourself with that, the dockmaster comes to the slip where you are, and looking up, unless you're making an effort not to be recognized, Avery, he's going to recognize you. It's a gnomish man with a shock of a white beard and a red cap pulled backwards, and quite a large prominent nose that's a bit red, and with slightly bleary eyes, he looks up at you and says, "Well then, look who's back at long last. Been a hot minute, Taz, since I've seen you here."
Yes, it has. It's good to be back.
Well then, I've not seen you in this vessel before. What's its name? For the paperwork, of course.
Should I tell him the name of the boat, or should I make one up?
Nay, thou shouldst make one up.
We are called the Headless Dairy.
Was that the Headless Dairy you said?
The Headless Dairy.
Right then. And then he sort of like makes a note on his roster, and looks the ship up and down as though looking for a sign of that, and seeing none, just continues writing. It's like, so how long will it be that you'll be here for?
Not long. Probably just a few hours.
Right then. Well, we'll just consider this done compliments of the lady then, shall we?
Thank you so much, friend.
We have heard such promising things about you, Botram. We hope you are able to escort us to safety.
This is not so, Avery. You know this is not Bertram. It's certainly not Botram. This is Ed.
Oh,
This is Nosy,
Buckle,
the dockmaster.
Thou art embarrassing us in front of the new people.
My apologies. I was trying to be polite.
Right, then... Well, then... I think I know where it is you're making your way, but mum's the word and all that. And as you're like setting a gangplank for those of you who are coming down to come through, Nosy sort of gestures you to take a few steps to the side, Avery, as everyone else is like making their way down. If I were ye, I'd take the western route to where you're going. There's trouble in the east. And then sort of gestures with his eyes to the other side of the dock. And you can see probably about 80 meters from where you are, a number of piers away, the Spaniel is docked. There is no cloud of black smoke, but the distinct figure of that ship is there. Dark skies, you understand?
I do. Thank you for your advice, Nosy. And I have to say I've missed you, and it's good to see a friendly face again. And Avery takes out 5 coins and gives it to Nosy.
5 gold. All right. His eyes get pretty big, raises an eyebrow appreciatively and says, "'Tis a kind gesture, and I'll be certain to drink it away soon. Thanks. Off you pop then. I'll make sure this one's reserved, and should be here in shipshape when you get back." And Nosy kind of nods to the lot of you and then walks off and begins shouting directions at one of the dockhands nearby who are tying off the headless dairy to its slip. Avery, you know this city pretty well, and there are, there's a couple of ways you could get to the lookout from where you are. One of which is by the main thoroughfare ahead, and you can take a right up an offshoot road to go up the hill. Another less direct route, of course, takes the west, which allows you to go right to the very edge of the walls of the city, and then work your way upward that way. And there's some stairs up to the top of the wall, but one of those stairs is close enough to a roof where you can practically just step across to it, and then you are on level on the hill with the lookout, which, living up to its name, is situated quite high enough on a hill of the city that it can look over askance one of the walls to have an ocean view from its upstairs window. And for everyone else in the building, the name is somewhat ironic, but people up in that top window can see out. Those of you who are there, when you walk in, the upper level looks very much like any number of taverns you've spent time in Orst. There is warm light coming in from outside in the sun. There is a barkeep, a dwarven woman who is polishing a glass and looks up. At first, eyebrows raised at the number of possible patrons coming in. Recognizing you, however, Avery, the barkeep, beginning to say something in welcome to you all, stops and just continues doing what she was doing as though no one is there. There are a handful of other folks in the bar, just doing their thing, having a morning drink. A couple of the sort of tragics who live nearby here and are doing so. And then there's 1 or 2 people who were clearly out with the day's fish who've come back early and are having an early lunch before going back out for the evening tide. None of them seem to pay you much mind. You can walk along to the backside where it seems like there is an exit. But rather than an exit, there is a small hallway that veers off to the back, and it looks like it's going to an array of doors leading out to the back staircase, some storage rooms. Avery, one of those doors, is not a storeroom, but rather an entrance down below. And when Avery knocks, there is a pause, a shuffle, and then the door cracks just a bit, and then closes again. There is some clicking, sliding of various chains, and then the door opens again quickly and abruptly, and peeking out from the inside there is an elderly goblin woman looks out and sort of gives a keen once-over at everyone there. Seeing you at the front, Avery, she just nods silently and then drops back, the door being open for all of you to come in. Once all of you are inside, the door snaps shut, and there is a staircase before you, and you can go downward to a much different vibe beneath, where before there was a well-lit area with like nice tables and a fairly run-of-the-mill tavern. Down below is much darker. There is faint light coming in from a small, like, porthole-sized window high up right near the ceiling, but not much else as far as natural light goes. There are a couple of other lanterns and candles lit, so that there are deep shadows across the place. And at the bar, there is a lone gentleman who has dark gray skin and silver hair pulled back in a kind of bun. He is an elven man, and has half-moon spectacles that he is calmly looking over, hearing sound coming down the stairs. But when he sees that it is you, Avery, coming around the bend there, he seems to let out a breath and then nods over to a booth in the corner, a familiar booth where you generally go when you come here. He then very quietly walks to the side of the bar, opens the top, very well-oiled hinges make no sound. He goes through, walks over to the other side of the room, where there are a number of other patrons sitting quietly and having a drink. The man bends forward and whispers a few things to them. There's a dwarven man and a human woman sitting at a table together, and they keep eye contact with him, nod, finish their drinks, pop them down, drop a few coppers on the table, stand up, and walk out of the room. Bertram walks over to where they leave, closes a second door at the bottom of the staircase before giving a signal up the staircase. Locks that door twice. Turns around. And walks quietly over to where all of you are seated at the... It is good to see you, Avery.
Rav whispers to Buckle, "This is Botram."
Oh.
I wish that I could say it was under better circumstances.
I?
But news for news, I suppose. Do you have her?
I do. She is safe. She's with some trusted friends. It has been a mission to get her this far, but I expect we shall be returning her back to the safety of the place today.
Forgive me, Avery. I'm doing my best to read the situation and know that I trust your judgment, but... And he kind of looks up at the other three personages who are here. Says, I need to know with absolute certainty that we may speak freely.
Oh, of course. This one here's my ex-fiancé, and the other three are just my friends. We helped rescue Alda, and it is them who have gotten us thus far. If they could not be trusted, they would have sold us out already. They've had many of the opportunity.
Well, I must say, I was expecting to be surprised when we met. I was not expecting that.
Rav gets a little jealous. "And who art thou? Art thou some ex-boyfriend of Avery's?"
Hardly.
Hey, yes.
Yes.
Rav punches him in the nose.
Does Rav do that?
Don't do that.
Rav kind of puffs up his chest and gets close to him and is like,
Buckle tries to diffuse the situation. He's like, it's very funny because we traveled here on a boat and thy name is Botram.
As you can see, they're harmless.
My name is Bertram.
Ah.
And Avery, if you vouch for these, then I shall have to trust your judgment. I am afraid we are fast running out of the luxury of this discernment we used to employ. Things are escalating.
How so?
The fact that you have Alda is good. However, I take it you were pursued.
Yes. By a lot of things.
Tristan.
Tristan, a big daddy. What was that? What did we call him? The water guy?
Big Daddy.
The what now? Sorry.
We called him something like Big Daddy Waterman or something.
skeleton guy?
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bertram is just looking really confused. You have been pursued by more than Tristan.
Flying piranhas.
You have taken the river passage, I understand.
Yes.
The dark and teeming mire is a risky way, but you did gain yourself some time in the process. I understand. Desperate times.
Hi.
Avery, I am worried for Vela.
Is she okay?
The last I spoke to her was yestermorn. Normally we are in contact every morning. I have not heard from her today. I believe she is in the cave. She has received terrible news. It was my displeasure to relay it to her yesterday morn when last we parted. Avery, there are some things you do not know about Vela. You are going to learn them if she is ready to tell thee.
Can you just tell me? You already know them.
I know. Avery, Vela's family has been murdered. Her father and both of her older sisters. It has happened suddenly within these last few days. Word has only just reached us 2 days hence, and I did contact her as soon as I could. She has not received the news well. I'm afraid that she is in a desperate position, and she needs help. Seeing Alda will do her a world of good. There are some operations that I have had to put on hold here. Make an insight check.
I like him not.
So close.
Ooh.
So close. With a 19. Good time to shout out Matt Daig for creating Rollcast, which lets us have these virtual dice rolls in moments like this. Pretty good though at a 19. Yori, I'm extrapolating based on the experience we've had in game, but Bertram is probably wholly unlike most people Yori has ever met. He's extremely calm. Everything about him states composure. He carries himself, honestly, like the family you used to work for. He has the air of a person who is used to being in control. With a 19 for not knowing him, even you can tell at this point he seems flustered and that he is doing a good job of keeping it together. Avery, who you know him very well, I would say that sort of as this is happening, you can see this is like, for Bertram, this is close to pitching a fit. Like, Bertram hardly ever looks ruffled at all.
Mhm.
But everything about what he's done since you've walked in here has communicated that he seems rattled, downright afraid.
Mhm. Bertram, do you think that it was the Four Winds that murdered Vela's family?
I think it is without question that is the case. Now, report has indicated that a fell plague has swept through their estate, and that a number of their servants have also been taken ill with it.
Bioweapon.
I think it nothing of the kind, although I would not place it outside the realm of feasibility. I believe that they have been murdered and this is a ruse. My contacts, who have been keeping appraised of the situation, certain that this is foul play. You must understand, Vela is being faced with a terrible choice, and I do not know what she will choose, but she must choose quickly. I believe she is in her usual place. We need to get to her quickly.
Okay, and when you say a choice, are you talking about choosing between the dragon and what else is there? What else is there besides Alda's safety?
Make a persuasion check.
Okie dokie. Oops.
Rav whispers to Buckle, I can see why Avery liked him. There is a certain appeal.
Who is Vela?
Buckle was like that.
So is 13 your total, or do you need to add your persuasion?
No, I have 0 on persuasion.
Yep, all right. Bertram, I'm afraid I cannot say more specifically. It will be Vela's choice.
Bertram, she's not going to betray us, is she?
No. No, God's no. The question remains whether she will choose to place herself in danger and the support she shall have if she does so. There is no good outcome for Vela. It is a question of how she will choose to live with an unfortunate one. A path that is dangerous and perhaps... I don't know if honorable is the correct word. Appropriate, perhaps. And a path less dangerous, but very difficult to accept. And I'm sorry, I know that you vouch for these people with you, but this is not something I can share with people I have only just met without knowing that Vela approves. And Avery, know that I trust thee, and it is not a small thing that I withhold this from thee now. I think me that Vela will choose to tell thee, but while we are here in the city, and while there are those who would wish Vela and Alda harm in the city, shall hold my tongue. But first, other business. He moves for a moment away from your table to the side of the room, and mutters something under his breath and elbows a board in the wall. A portrait that is hanging on the wall there that's very faded, of a very distinguished-looking dwarven woman in plate armor with a great axe. The portrait falls down to the side suddenly, as though on a well-oiled hinge, and behind it is a door, which Bertram then opens after making some deft motions of his hands. and then pulls something from within it, closes it, locks it, and then places the portrait back where it was. He comes back to you, Avery, holding a wrapped, rather large parcel that fit behind the portrait. And places it on the table in front of you and says, I have been making some modifications that I think you shall find advantageous.
Good.
He opens up the parcel, which is really just fabric wrapped around a set of studded leather armor, and so it's just like the leather armor that a number of you are wearing. However, at various intervals where the leather is sort of tied to other bits of the leather, there are glints of gold. As a kind of hard scale material seems to be inlaid across those openings of the armor, and it shines faintly in light where it is visible. Avery, you can add to your inventory something from D&D Beyond that is called Glamored Studded Leather. If you can't find it, I'll be able to find it to add it to your inventory. As he shows it to you, he says, for occasions in which it is better for you not to be recognized, or perhaps to blend in. If you're able to add it, Glamored Studded Leather allows you to speak a command word, I believe as a bonus action, and you can make it appear like any other kind of clothing.
Oh, that's awesome.
It also has the effect of a +1 leather armor, so your AC.
Rav steps forward and puts his hands out, waiting for his gift.
Yep. that has occurred. Yep. Rav, make a persuasion check. It will determine something about this.
It'll determine if I get a treat.
You'll see what it determines.
Or a smack.
Wait, I've lost
Rev's a charming fellow.
Sure.
He tends to get away with some.
Yeah, but what's Boatman like?
Hey, while we're waiting, Yuri, what did you end up doing with that fish? Is it still next to your bed? Yeah.
Is it though?
Oh.
29.
Oh my god.
Give it to me, Daddy.
Well. Okay. Bertram looks at you confused for a moment. Like, is he really? Right? He says, what is your name?
Why, that is for me to know and thy mother to call out in pleasure when I'm in bed with her.
Oh! Wow, that 29 is real confident. Wow.
Young man, my mother has buried your betters.
Ooh.
And I will thank you to think twice before you invoke her name. If and when Layla determines that the lot of you are to be trusted, then you shall find I am a very useful person to know. I'm afraid that even under the circumstances, we shall have to leave it until that point. For the moment, we might be able to move about safely, but that might change. Given recent events, we cannot assume that even our hide house is perfectly safe, and we must venture there under absolute cover if we can manage it. If we determine that we are followed, it will not be safe. Must not risk Alda. And we certainly cannot risk Layla under the circumstances. I do not know in what condition we will find her there, and my mind misgives for that. So it is well that you have arrived at this point. Had you come later today, it is to the point where I am considering going there on my own. It is better.
Yes.
Buckle, did you ask out loud? I thought you
No,
were
I
just talking. Okay, yeah, I thought you were just talking at the table.
I've surmised that Bertram is Vela's son. He is very passionate about Vela and his mother, which says to me they are the same person.
Listen here, Botram. I agree that time is of the essence, but just as thou knowest not if thou can trust us, I hath not the measure of thee yet. Therefore, I shall accompany Avery anywhere she goes, and she shall not be from my side for even a moment.
That sounds a lot like monogamy.
Not now, Avery, not in front of thy ex-boyfriend.
And I shall chaperone that situation, Buckle says, waving his hands at the three of them.
So
Don't
take
ever
us to
fall in
Vela.
love, Bertram.
What did you say, Avery?
I said, don't ever fall in love, Bertram.
Oh, Avery.
Nay, Yuri.
Avery. Avery, could we have a moment?
Nay.
Yes.
Nay.
Yes.
Like I said, I shall not leave from her side. And
I
Rav,
don't
like,
belong to anyone now, Ravelar. You could have had me, but you turned me down.
Avery, don't be foolish. I care for thee, and I would not jeopardize our mission by having thy gentle form in the clutches of this man.
This man is kind and trustworthy and honorable, more than I can say for thee.
Bertram has walked over to the other side of the room at this point, and is standing quietly by.
Rav follows him.
So Rav, you're just gone over there, and Avery's left behind, or is Avery coming over?
Rav's going wherever Avery's going.
Bertram, I'm sorry about my ex-fiancé. He's really clingy.
Then I will say what I intended to say, and I will say it in front of you, though I intended to spare your feelings. Avery, I have never questioned your judgment in all of our association. You have vouched for these people, and I see that they have protected Alda and you in some fashion. I respect that, and I have worked with no small number of strange characters in my time. But we have not the time or space for triviality in this moment.
Yeah, we
Are
can
you
lose.
certain, Avery, that these people are serious? Because this is serious.
I beg thy pardon. I just this morning engaged in a holding my breath underwater contest with Alda. And now I have to hear you say that I do not take this seriously.
These people have done more. These people have done more than just protect Alda. They have given her love and company, and they have shown her kindness and family. They have protected her in more ways than one. They have protected her heart. And those individuals, they can be trusted.
Botram, is this about the mother thing? For I do apologize.
Yes, Vela sounds like a lovely person.
Bertram looks at you, Rav, for a little bit. Says, from what I have seen, I have already wasted enough of my concern on you. If you have intentions of proving otherwise, then I encourage you to do so. Whatever it is you think of my association with Avery, I can assure you, it is incorrect. It is in any way inappropriate. I care for Avery. I long to see her safe. She has been like a daughter to me, in ways that I have never known, a way that I value very highly. If you have toyed with her heart, then I urge you to fear not me, but she. However, moving forward, you will treat this situation with the gravity and respect that it deserves, or I will be shed of thee.
This is really important, people. I don't think it's time for sightseeing, Yori. And Rabbit's not the time for mother jokes. And Buckle, you're just great all the time. You've done nothing wrong.
Like looks around the rest of the bar, seeing who else heard that.
Well, perhaps we could have more of them and we could discuss our broken hearts.
Avery, I like not this man, for he reminds me much too much of mine own father, and I like not to be bossed around by father types. But since thou hast said 'tis important to thee, I shall go forward, but I like it not.
I appreciate that, Ravelor, thank you.
Well then, we must make our way with all due haste, security, and silence. Do you think that you shall be marked in your vessel?
It is disguised. It's still disguised, right?
Indeed, 'tis disguised, and it has a most ingenious secret name that no one will ever crack.
Well then, perhaps we must see ourselves to the docks. And perhaps that is a good time for us to end tonight's session. You have found Bertram, you have made it to Halefort, you have split the party, always a good idea. And we will return first thing in 2 weeks when we come back for more Bardic Inspiration to see what the rest of your party has been up to during their wait, and also to make your way down to the docks so that you can find Vela at the cave on the other side of the bay. What a night. There have been hearts filled, hearts broken, stomachs emptied, rings transferred, pranks pranked, and disguised. Quite a lot has gone down. For those of you who have watched on the stream, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you are watching from some later date, we appreciate that as well. If you are curious, you can keep up with our other simultaneous campaign running in this same world and track the Magical Cane Band and their hijinks over on the other side of Eston right this time. You can also find introductory videos for both on our YouTube channel here at Bardic Inspiration. You can keep up with us on Twitter at Bardic_inspo, as well as on TikTok for more D&D and Shakespeare-related fun times. Until that time, I have been Adam. These have been the Headless Marys, and this has been Bardic Inspiration. Thank you so much. We'll close, as always, by saying thanks, and more thanks. Good night.